I think the President and Secretary Blinken have been very clear about our policy with regard to the fact that we don't support regime change anywhere. What we are focused on, though, is making sure that we use our financial sanctions and export controls to prevent Russia from being able to project power going forward, from being able to continue its invasion of Ukraine. And we've already had a significant impact. You look at the Russian economy, which private sector forecasters say was in the worst recession it's faced since 1998. Russia today is trying to prevent anyone who can from taking money out of their economy because people are trying to do it as fast as possible in response to our financial sanctions. And these actions are having a profound impact on Russia's ability to meet its commitments domestically, but also to fund its illegitimate war in Ukraine.
What comes next in terms of sanctions? You've talked this morning, I understand, about targeting sectors critical to the Kremlin's ability to wage war. Can you give us specifics about what's on the table?
This morning at Chatham House, I gave a speech talking about the fact that we've had a significant impact on Russia's ability to wage the war already by reducing the value of its economy and taking out and immobilizing the assets of its central bank. We're going to continue to go after its financial system, but also its elites to make sure that that funding is not being used to further the Kremlin's ability to conduct the war in Ukraine. But in addition to doing that, we're going to take actions against Russia's military-industrialized complex to make sure that Russia doesn't have the ability to continue to produce the weapons that it's using in Ukraine, but also weapons that it's going to use to project power in the future. And in addition to going after those companies, we're going to go after the companies in its supply chain to make sure that suppliers around the world aren't helping to further Russia's ability to continue this invasion in the future. And it's what we're going to do. We're going to do this in collaboration and coordination with our allies around the world. That's why I'm here in Europe, to make sure that we're coordinating and we continue the good coordination we've done to ensure that Russia does not have the ability to project power into the future.
Are you seeing any evidence of Russian entities using cryptocurrencies to get around these sanctions?
We're paying a lot of attention to sanctions evasion. Last week, President Biden and members of the G7 put out a statement making very clear that any company, country, individual who helps Russia evade our sanctions will be subject to our laws and be held accountable, including cryptocurrency companies. We have not seen to date that Russia has been able to evade our sanctions in a meaningful way, but we know that they're attempting to do so. And we know they're going to try and use every means possible, both cryptocurrencies, but also shell companies, and also any other means that they can find. And what we want to make very clear to crypto exchanges, to financial institutions, to individuals, to anyone who may be in a position to help Russia take advantage and evade our sanctions, we will hold you accountable. We will come and we will find you, and we will ensure that Russia does not have the ability to get around the sanctions that we put in place in order to make it harder for them to prosecute the illegitimate war that they have in Ukraine.
Sir, do you have any evidence to suggest that China has done anything to violate U.S. sanctions against Russia at this time?
So I think China, like any other country in the world, we expect them to follow the rules of the road and to implement our sanctions. What we've seen in the past and what we expect to see in the future from China and from other countries and from other companies and individuals is that they don't want to violate our sanctions. They find a great deal of value in being able to do business not only in the United States, but across the world in all the G7 economies. And we expect that China and countries around the world will continue to follow those rules of the road, because that is essential to ensuring that Russia does not have the resources that it needs to continue its illegitimate war in Ukraine.